Sir, good afternoon, sir. This is Baranita. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, audible. I think I can do it now. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Are you able to hear my voice in the group?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Barnita, can we start now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You can show my PPT now.
Sir, yes, sir. We will start now, sir. Good afternoon. A very warm welcome to all the participants and our esteemed guests for the first day of Faculty Development Program on Elevating Education through Faculty Development. It's truly an honor for us to host this program funded by Department of Biotechnology under Star Status College Scheme. Throughout the program, participants will have the opportunity to engage with renowned experts, exchange ideas, and gain valuable insights into the latest trends and best practices in teaching and learning. Now, I invite Dr. V. Pankajam, Assistant Professor of Mathematics, to introduce today's speaker.
Good evening to all. It gives immense pleasure to introduce the resource person of today's session, Professor Dr. M. Jayakumar, former Professor and Head, Department of Extension and Career Guidance, School of Education, Bardiyar University, Coimbatore. He served as the Director, IQSC and Academic Staff College, Special Officer for Planning and Development of the University. He served as Director of RUSA Project in Bardiyar University, Member of Syndicate, Finance Committee, Convener for granting affiliation to new colleges, granting new programs to existing colleges. His field of specialization is language teaching methods, educational assessment, career counseling. He worked for more than 30 years as associate professor, and in the 20 years in e-learning, faculty development, and employability development of students of affiliated colleges of Bardiyar University. He served as an expert in the UGC Standing Committee on e-learning, adult and constituency education and drawn a roadmap for e-learning for the Indian universities. In students' placement, 2 consecutive national records were created during his period in the university by placing 1,270 students in a one-day on-campus drive by pooling students from all the affiliated colleges of Badia University. He served as a faculty in the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, USA. He operated projects worth of rupees 300 lakhs by drawing funds from national agencies. He guided 25 students in research. He served as an external peer team member, secretary for NAC assessment and the NBA, oriented more than 50 institutions in the process of quality assurance and accreditation. He acted as a consultant for Tata Electronics, Hosur in the area of employee education and training. His team designed and delivered BSc Manufacturing Science in the first stage for 2,000 women employees and 18,000 in the next 2 years. With these few words, I invite eminent Professor Dr. M. Jaikumar to take over the session. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you. I sincerely thank the principal, GVG Visalatri College for Women Autonomous, Udmalpet, and the organizing team for having invited me to discuss about one of the probably very essential area right now. Many of you have your own personal experience in implementing the outcome-based education. In the last probably about 10 years, we have pressures from multiple sources to ensure the quality of our delivery, the academic delivery. When I say quality, there are 2 parameters in which we can define quality. One is consistency in performance. The other one is fitness for purpose. All our activities, it can be curriculum construction, it can be curriculum delivery, or our assessment methods, relevance of curriculum, everything is subject to probably a third-party assessment, including the NAC. One aspect we are going to discuss is the curriculum construction in the context of the outcome-based education. Of course, the OBE, outcome-based education, initially was implemented in almost all the engineering colleges based on the suggestion or based on the requirement of the National Board of Accreditation by engineering institutions. And later, the NAC insisted that the arts and science colleges should also adopt OBE. OBE is not an extraordinary thing to solve all our problems. It is not a panacea to solve our problems. How effectively we understand the OBE in the context of curriculum construction, in the context of assessment, is more important. There are 2 important points even in my discussion board. Participants raised what is the purpose of OBE, outcome-based education. The purpose of outcome-based education is to remove the belief that probably the performance of students. We are going to ensure that there should be uniformity in the performance of students. Normally, we call the bell-shaped curve. The curve, for example, if you conduct a program, there will be 10 to 15% toppers who achieve very good marks. There will be bottom line about 15-20% or poor achievers. There is a mid-range. Normally, if you put everything, the curve will be like a bell-shaped curve. Normal distribution curve, we call it technically. So this normal distribution curve is not accepted in outcome-based education. Second thing is, normally we say that bottom-up approach, bottom-up planning is very, very important. But when please don't change the slide. Let me give the introduction, then we will go for the slide. The second important thing is, it is a bottom-up. It is not a bottom-up approach. It is in fact a top-down model. The outcome-based education, 2 important aspects or two purposes. The purpose is to ensure equal achievement by all the students. We don't agree poor achievers, great achievers, or bright students. We insist that every student should achieve the desired goal. And the third aspect is time is not a constraint in outcome-based education. Unfortunately, in our present education system, so 90 working days, 80 days we teach, 10 days we allot for internal assignment. And subsequently on the 91st day, we conduct the semester end exam. But truly speaking, in outcome-based education, the individual teacher can decide the number of hours of teaching a particular course. Here, when I mean, what I mean is paper. So these are the three important points you have to keep it in mind. And William Spady, he was the promoter of the outcome-based education. Initially, it was introduced in schools, especially in US, UK, Australia, and other places. There was criticism also. I am not saying that all our problems will be solved through outcome-based education. Let us really discuss. He is the promoter, William Spady. He is a promoter of outcome-based education. He is an educationist and also he is also a sociologist. And the next slide, please. My discussion will be based on the various aspects of outcome-based education. And presently I look at education in the context of national planning and how the position of outcome-based education is fixed in the national planning activity, especially higher education. There are certain uniqueness of education, higher education in particular, how that will really change or understand, how it will really probably make us to think slightly differently, and how the knowledge is delivered through our curriculum and various compartments. And then subsequently the basics of OBE, we call it as 5D. Then we will discuss the framework, various components related to that. We'll also discuss about vision and mission, that is the fundamentals in which we are going to build the OBE program, outcome-based education program, graduate attributes. There are greater challenges like mapping at various levels, the program outcomes, course outcomes. Then there is also a certain criticism that also we will discuss. These are all my presentation details. At any point of time, you can raise your hands. And I'm here to answer your question. I am not just there to complete my slides. That is not my purpose. You can always read my slide, my document. You can come back to me. And friends, there are certain, next slide please. There are certain uniqueness you have to really understand. And before that, how our education, higher education fits into the policy, the current policy. The government of India, since education is in the concurrent list, the role of state government and the central government both are equally important thing. The government of India has come out with a policy through the National Planning Commission. Now it's called Niti Aayog. Viksit Bharat 2047 is the central government's vision to transform the country, including the higher education, to become self-reliant and prosperous economy by 2047. When we say prosperous economy, it means 55 trillion. Though our Indian economy is slated to grow, there is a greater opportunity by 2047. If the country is able to register an average real growth rate of 8%, there are two important parameters they talk about. 8% annual growth rate, and probably the inflation should not exceed 5%. Even if the growth is there, if inflation is high, you cannot really feel or perceive the improvement. So 5%, we have to reduce our inflation to the probably average of 5% per annum. Of course, friends, when I talk about inflation, there are at 2 points. One is at the retail price level, the inflation will be high. At the wholesale price index, probably the inflation they can control. But again, it's seasonal. You have to really understand in the policy, the Government of India's policy 2047, it talks about economic growth, technological upgradation, including technology exploitation for effective communication of the educational content, infrastructure development for quick movement of services, resources, goods, and social empowerment, probably supporting the differently abled SC, ST, tribals, and others, and sustainability. This is very, very important thing. That is why even our curriculum, we talk about SDG goals, how our curriculum is mapped with SDG goals is the current challenge. And at the national level or international level, the education should also, the higher education should also focus towards the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG goal, especially goal number 4, the quality education. There are a few other goals also you can connect. Next slide, please. When you look at this national planning, the Viksit Bharat 2047, there are 5 parameters they talk about. Ultimately, after the plan, after the implementation up to 2047, empowered Indians, every Indian, everyone is empowered to perform his own duties and achieve the benefits out of that. Thriving and sustainable economy, not depending on a particular country, and innovation, science and technology, so that many social evils are removed. Everyone is enjoying the benefit of the technology. Good governance, a fair democracy, a fair justice, good governance and security, including social security and national security. And probably the last one is we can set a model for other developing nations, India in the overall, in the context of the other countries in the world map. India must overhaul its labor market. And when we discuss about labor market, it closely related to what? It closely related to 2 parameters. One is it related to economy. The other one is it related to its technology. The third one is what kind of skills we are providing for the youth, so that we can have a dynamic labor labor market. Everyone is in the organized sector of employment. And trade policies to protect the interest of the India and the education system. Without bold structural reforms, fundamental changes, India risks remain the middle income country. Right now we talk about middle income country. Maybe because of a low productivity and sluggish growth, we have to really come out of these kind of clutches. And Vision India 2047 is a project initiated by the Niti Aayog Planning Commission, the apex policy think tank of India, to create a blueprint for the India's development in the next 25 years. Friends, why we discuss this? All our education policies, or not only education policies, policies related to health, policies related to primary education or secondary education, or skill development, they draw the inspiration or model only from this national policy document. I wish all of you can spend more time to understand this. So educational planning is part and parcel of the national planning. It also goes with the economic planning. It also goes with the planning for skill development. It also goes with considerable amount of technology change. Only in that context, we have to understand education, especially higher education. Next slide, please. So keeping this in mind, let us really understand the uniqueness of higher education. Higher education, there is always a nice thing, sometimes the heart and soul of every problem of a country. Please understand, if the education, we will always, the politicians, the parents, the elders, the persons who are in the helm of affairs, they always think that the higher education is not good. That is why we are not able to solve the problem. Heart and soul of every problem of the country. And all those who are blaming higher education, they also come back to us and saying that it is also an important solution for all problems. This is a very, very important thing. Somebody say that because of the poor quality education, especially higher education, many evils are there, and finally they again come to us. The total benefits to society, for example, education is for common good. It's not only for the particular individual, but for the entire society, dynamic democracy, a fair and transparent justice system, equality of sharing resources, all those possible. The total benefits to society from education are greater than what the individuals are really enjoying. I am not able to see my slide. Barnita, can you just show my slide? Yeah, show my slide again. Yeah, fine, I'm able to see that. The other important thing is higher education is basically the institution should really go for both inward looking and outward looking tendencies. We need to have a tendency, an essential quality to see what is happening outside our educational portals, our educational institutions. And higher education takes long gestation period. Go to my slide. Higher education takes long gestation period. It is not a manufacturing company. You manufacture and finally you look at the quality of the product you sell in the market, get benefit out of that. You need to have both inward looking and outward looking tendencies, qualities. And sometimes we don't really accept changes. We are averse to change frequently, like any other institution, like market or any other economic institution. And we are risk averse. And higher education sometimes self-satisfied and unduly expensive. All our institutions. Truly speaking, we are all self-correcting individuals. Our institutions, higher education institutions, are self-correcting institutions like judiciary and media. You don't really need a separate NAC. You don't really need a third-party agency coming to your campus saying that you are doing good. Do you think that we have a separate NAC for Supreme Court or High Court or media houses or newspapers companies? They are all correcting themselves in the same manner. Truly speaking, higher education or education in general or self-education institutions are self-correcting individuals. That also we have to keep it in mind. This is a very, very uniqueness. Before getting into the kind of institutional practice we are going to adopt, the kind of various activities you are going to involve in the name of higher education, you have to really understand the uniqueness of higher education and also the higher education institutions. As I said earlier, we have to have long period to make some changes, long gestation period. It cannot be compared with any other social institution. And we are also self-correcting individuals like judiciary and media, our institutions and our teachers. And we need to have both inward-looking and outward-looking tendencies. Next slide, please. But if you look at the education, after discussing the greater expectation, the uniqueness of higher education. Next slide, please. We have to also look at other aspects. For example, so far, what kind of methods we have normally followed, and especially for the delivery of the academic contents in educational institutions. Even currently also the NAC assessment, they look at all the three aspects. One is what are the inputs, input-based education. What is the assumption? If the teacher is good, if the curriculum is good, if the technology is good, the outcome is good. It may not be really true in all cases, but there was an assumption at that point of time. Input-based education. Then after certain experience, after certain years of experience, we also talked of the process-oriented education. For example, involving all the stakeholders in curriculum construction. This is the probably argument or the point of view now we emphasize. It was not there about 20, 30 years ago. Earlier, we say that experts sit and design the curriculum. Now, involve everyone, including the alumni, the technology experts, the market leaders into our curriculum construction process. The third one is a very, very important thing. Irrespective of the inputs, irrespective of the effective process, they say that the outcome is also a very, very important thing. What is the outcome? The tangible, measurable, verifiable, achievable, comparable with national and international standards we talk about in the outcome-based education. Probably we define without any meaning confusion the purpose of the purpose and achievement of education, especially higher education, through certain rigorous methods of curriculum construction, delivery, and assessment. That is what we mean by outcome-based education. Why we have to adopt this? Because if there are some non-serious players in our system, OBE may ensure, if you effectively follow that, OBE may ensure achievement by all. I think I discussed a little more earlier. It is a top-down model. Before you getting into the curriculum construction and delivery in the classroom or assessment at the end of the semester, we decide everything in the beginning of the semester. It is called a top-down model. The teachers, the experts sit during the process and they probably give that particular content or that particular course outcome or program outcome. The normal distribution curve is not accepted. It means we say that everyone should achieve the desired level of learning outcome. That is the purpose of outcome-based education. Fundamentally, we have to make certain things very clear. I emphasize 3 or 4 points for your own understanding and reference. I repeat again, outcome-based education is a top-down model. Before you getting into actual teaching, everything is planned in advance. And outcome-based education is not accepted the normal distribution. It means 10% good achievers or 15% poor achievers. There's a mid-range of 67%. We demand or we emphasize that 100% students, 100% achievement. That is one of the ideals of higher education. And time is not a constraint. You can adopt your own time to suit the achievement level of your students and other parameters. These are all the important factors. You have to keep it in mind. That should really is very, very important parameters whenever you design a particular curriculum. In fact, truly speaking, there is no separate 5 unit in your syllabus if you really adopt the outcome-based education method. And next slide, please. This is also an important point I thought I should really discuss at length before I go for the detailed discussion about outcome-based education. Friends, what do you do inside the classroom? What you are responsible for certain things. You are responsible for domain knowledge. You are responsible for domain-specific skills. And you are also responsible, partly responsible, I'm not saying fully responsible. You are going to set a model for others, especially your students, to follow you, to adopt you, to copy you. Normally we call mindset or attitude. As a teacher inside the classroom, you are responsible for subject knowledge, domain knowledge, right kind of skills and right kind of a mindset or attitude. Normally, let me really describe what is knowledge in the context of curriculum construction. Knowledge can be organized into probably 4 major a major division, you can say, into 4 compartments. They are all taught as courses. One is the fundamentals, basics, but it is there for many, many years, for 500 years or 600 years. The economics, what you teach, the basic economics, is there for many years. The grammar you teach in your classroom, or the poetry you teach in classroom, or the physics, the fundamentals of physics, electricity, magnetism, electromagnetism, whatever you teach, some of the basic principles, some of the experiments are there for more than 500 years. So invariant core, otherwise called as fundamentals, basics. The second component is called new knowledge, otherwise called exploding new knowledge, empirical knowledge based on research. The third one is called application principles. And the fourth one is called application tools. The application tools, where software is an application tool. By using this software, you try to solve a complex problem or analyze the data. The application tools are already there in your lab, or you can create your own application tools. So it means there are 4 components. One is the basics, fundamentals, exploding new knowledge based on research. New knowledge is added. Earlier we said atom cannot be broken. Now we say atom can be broken. Atom can be studied in different fashion. Many of the basics, some of them are currently changed based on the research. The invariant course consists of fundamentals based on universal laws that provide a description. The fundamentals of chemistry, physics, or mathematics are there for many, many years. Empirical knowledge based on research expands every year, and every experiment, new knowledge is added. And sophistication is added to the changing applications. And finally, invariant core provides fundamentals or continuity in education for several generations. You are responsible for three things, I repeat again: knowledge, subject knowledge, skills related to your domain, or it can be common skills, effective communication in a particular language, act of negotiation, an act of influencing, leadership qualities, and reporting the truth, admitting the failure, sense of joy, pride, and prestige. All those things are related to attitude. Some of them are related to skills, some of them related to knowledge. So you are responsible for all the three things. This is what you are expected to perform inside the classroom. Of course, we have examination, we have curriculum, we have assessment methods for knowledge and skills, but we don't have a separate mechanism for attitudes. They simply follow the various procedures silently, the various methods. They observe, the students observe the teachers inside the classroom. They pick up certain attitudes based on, probably it is not taught clearly, explicitly, but the students pick up certain attitudes from a particular institution, particular group of teachers, and they develop further. Next slide, please. So you are responsible to design outcome-based education primarily for the domain knowledge and skills. And you have to keep it in mind before getting into the outcome-based education. Next slide, please. Barnita. Let me define some more things about outcome-based education before I will discuss certain uniqueness also. It is not a simply one particular outcome which is important. I discussed about the complexity. Value-driven, we expect they should be sincere, they should be helping for others, the students out of our program. So values-driven, மதிப்பீடுகள். The next one, there are multiple outcomes. You have to account all those multiple outcomes. Immediate application of knowledge is urged. That is why we say that there is a greater demand for BCom CA, computer application. Sometimes they ignore even the basic subject, which is very, very essential, BCom. So students are also fascinated towards taking certain very specific application-oriented courses, but fundamentals are equally important thing before getting into application-oriented subject. Immediate application of knowledge is urged. Productivity and efficiency measures are emphasized in non-quantifiable context. This is very uniqueness of higher education. The outcomes is not simply a mechanical productivity or mechanical efficiency. The purpose of education, when I talk about purpose of education itself, is a separate session. So we expect many things from higher education institutions and teachers. And national standards have disappeared, and international comparisons because of the globalization is inevitable. And basically, as a teacher in an institution constructed on a culture of individualism and personal and academic autonomy, the most important criteria is the teacher should be completely free to express their opinion, to share their knowledge. There should not be any compulsion. The teachers, the judges, the media persons, they are all probably the representatives of the society. And we have to have complete academic and personal freedom so that they function effectively. They really nurture the next generation. This is also one of the uniqueness of our education institutions. Why we have to discuss uniqueness of higher education institutions? Because you cannot really discuss OBE independently. You have to discuss in the context of the institutions, in the context of the components of various components of higher education. Next slide, please. This is one important point I thought I should discuss with you. And traditional higher education was evolved as an elite activity. Earlier, hardly 10% of them are in formal education systems at various levels, involving relatively stable external environment and a small number of students, professional autonomy, and less dependence of government and industry. Please understand that traditional education institutions was completely independent from government. Many philanthropic institutions started education institutions. They did not depend on government funding, not industry also. Because of the perceived high stakes, probably opportunities and benefits of higher education, it is an attractive target for political manipulation. For every politician or everyone who wants to be in the governance structure, in the democracy, they try to exploit, they try to say that we will go for larger reservation, we'll change the curriculum, we change the medium of instruction, we change the type of assessment. Why? Because there is always an inherent advantage. Once if we have a very high quality of education, your social status is also changed. Your economic potential is also enhanced in industrial society. That is why higher education is because of perceived high stakes opportunities or achievements of higher education. It is an attractive target for political manipulation. That is why sometimes even when there was no need for any change, and sometimes those who are in the helm of affairs, they make certain changes. So this is also a very, very important thing. These are all the very uniqueness of higher education per se and also higher education institutions. Next slide, please. Most important thing is you have to keep certain fundamentals thoroughly before getting into outcome-based education. The most important thing is vision and mission of a particular institution in which that particular curriculum is delivered. When I say vision is a dream statement you may not be able to achieve in a short span of time. What is the vision of our country? Certain types of visions you heard of. One is education for all by 2027, or health for all by 2020 or 2025. Child labor free India 2025. These are all the statements issued by the successive governments at the national or state level. This is normally called the vision of the particular state or a government or a country. Sometimes even you can have globally certain visions. Individuals also can have visions. Institutions also have vision. For example, if an institution is established by Gandhian movement, they will talk about Gandhian ideals. If an institution is established by for the purpose of women's education, probably the focus vision will be empowerment of women. Certain institutions are established for scientific probably innovation. The priority you can very well see in the vision statement. For example, the vision is the first level you have to establish, you have to create, and it should be without any meaning confusion. Then from the vision, you can establish mission statements to achieve that particular vision, to achieve that particular dream state of existence. You have to work very hard, and the multiple means in which to achieve the vision is called the mission or mission statements. When the institution is all about, the mission is the institution is all about, its purpose and identity, its core values, its reason for being existed there in a particular place. This may be stated in the documents that created, but this may also have been redefined in the course of its history. This is very, very important thing. For example, you can definitely change one or two aspects of your vision over a period of 50 years or 100 years. Sometimes you can also change your mission maybe after 10 or 15 years. The vision is a picture of long-term future, taking into consideration the institution's mission and what it aspires to be. The institution then moves forward to this future by achieving particular goals within a particular time frame using appropriate strategies. So I will definitely ask you to draw to understand the vision of your college or university or a research institution from where you are working, probably in which you are contributing. Then you have to really understand the vision of your department and the particular department, zoology or botany you belong to, vision of the college, vision of the university, and the corresponding vision of the department. Both of them are very, very important thing. The next level is a mission statement. How do you are going to achieve that particular vision? If you are, say, if a department, the government arts college in Coimbatore or probably Andhra Pradesh, any place in Andhra Pradesh, if they say to emerge as the most suitable education institution to propagate or to impart quality education in arts and science, one of the leading education institutions to provide quality arts and science education. If you say like that, then we can say that is the vision. Then to achieve that particular ideal condition, what you will do is you will teach the subjects, latest subjects is one thing. You conduct research is another mission. You conduct extension activities related to probably related to the vision of the particular department or particular college. All those things, how do you achieve that particular dream status? Through multiple means. It can be teaching effectively, it can be integrating technology, it can be integrating right kind of assessment methods by empowering the teachers or providing the right kind of technology support for personal learning. All those steps are called mission statements. So do you really have vision and mission of your own department, of your own college? Only from there you can derive your outcome-based education. The next one is the program. Next slide, please. The next one is called program outcomes. For example, BSc Zoology is one program, BSc Chemistry or BCom CA in a particular college. All the three are separate programs. And there are, as I said earlier, if you look at your own institution, your own college, is it funded by the government of India or is it funded by the state government? Is it a professional college or is it probably a college established for the purpose for the improvement of that particular region or a state? So by looking at the program outcomes, I can easily identify what college you belong to. Graduates of professional institutions, your medical colleges, your dental law colleges, professional institutions demonstrate a service orientation in one's profession. The most important program outcome when you design for MBBS or when you design for BL or BSc nursing, the commitment of the individual students, effective delivery of service whenever there is a demand, the service orientation, selfless service you have to provide. So this selfless service is not simply based on the domain knowledge, but it is based on what? It is based on the attitude, the right kind of a mindset, commitment to the cause, selfless service. So the emphasis should be more towards right kind of an attitude, mindset, sense of joy, pride and prestige. These are all things I discussed earlier. Reporting the truth, admitting the failure. These are all related to one's quality. For the quality, at any cost, you are going to provide quality service. Consistently a good performer. That is also a very, very important thing. That is what we talk about defining when you define quality. So here, the professional institution service orientation is important. And when you talk about graduate of colleges, the arts and science humanities colleges, the various types of employment, make the students employable, involving in the development, national and state development activities, and public discourses, a meaningful citizen, particularly in response to the needs of the communities one serves. Because the resources are you draw for that particular college only from that particular community, publicly by using public funding. The graduates of universities, there is a difference between graduates from a college and graduates from the university. Normally, postgraduate students are there in the universities. They participate in the generation of new knowledge based on research, a scientific temperament that fellow has, the boy or a girl who is a postgraduate student has to gain and look for the new knowledge opportunities, including exploring the application principles. All those things are very, very important. When you design a program outcome for MSc Zoology or MSc Botany or MSc Biotechnology in a university, so the focus, due importance should be given to research component also, even at the postgraduate level. So graduates of universities participate in the generation of new knowledge based on research and revisiting the text and are in research and development projects. When you look at the graduates of state universities, state-funded universities and colleges, the purpose, the college is established from the state government funding. In addition to have competence to support national level, the graduate should also support the development of the state in which the college is established. So you can easily identify the purpose of establishing institution in the context of its situatedness, and appropriately you have to design program outcomes. Friends, I discuss many things, but when you go back, you have to really look at whether it is really applicable to our context. What is the basic fundamentals of OBE? All students can learn. There is no probably brilliant student, intelligent students, dull-headed students, or mid-range students. Right? All students are brilliant, but not on the same day in the same manner. Successful learning promotes even more successful learning. These are all the statements declared by the promoter of the OBE, outcome-based education, William Spady. When I say schools, it denotes also colleges. Schools control the conditions that directly affect successful school learning. Mistakes are steps along the way to develop, internalize, demonstrate high-level performance capabilities. It's a very, very important thing. So these are all the first three are the basic fundamentals of outcome-based education. All students can learn. There is no question of, truly speaking, there is no question of remedial education in outcome-based education. Next slide, please. William Spady, he also talks about you have to develop a clear set of learning outcomes around which all the systems component can be focused. When I say outcome, learning outcome, your curriculum, your teaching method, the learning opportunities going to create, the technology assessment tools, everything should move towards, everything should be based on the outcomes. The most important thing is when we talk about the outcome, in my earlier slide I said about achievable, perceivable, probably it can be easily demonstrated very well. It is not simply to become a good student, to become an intelligent student. It's not like that. Let me give you one example. The basic literacy, I want to really teach a basic literacy for school students, initially for school students, especially writing. And writing, what is the component you can emphasize? Writing, the student, especially at the very lower level, first, second, third standards, the shape of the letter, size of the letter, the speed of writing and writing convention. For example, each outcome, I can say in one outcome, I emphasize the shape of every letter the student should learn. The second outcome, I can say, depends on the need. They can write in a bigger size or a smaller size, shape of the letter. The third outcome, I talk about within a particular minute, say for 60 seconds, the outcome I can say is within 30 seconds, the student should write, say 25 or 10 words so that everyone can easily measure the outcome. And the last one, I can say writing convention, where to start and where to end, the fundamentals. So don't say that the student should achieve writing ability. It's very, very vague. Instead of that, I can say you have to focus the outcome on the shape of the letter, the size of the letter, any alphabet in any language, the writing convention, where to start and where to end, so that the speed is not affected, and also the total number of letters they write per minute. So if we break down into smaller components of that particular achievement, then anyone for that matter, whether you teach or somebody teach, when somebody comes and assess, you are able to really measure effectively across all the students. That is what we talk about outcomes. Developing a clear set of learning outcomes around which all of the systems components can be focused, establishing the conditions and opportunities within the system that enable and encourage all the students to achieve those essential outcomes. There are certain outcomes you cannot really compromise that can be easily measurable, verifiable, achievable, and tangible. And having learners do important things with what they know is a major step beyond knowing itself. So all the outcomes the student should demonstrate. It is not the teacher's teaching process that is important here. It is not that important what kind of probably teaching method you are adopting, whether student-centric method you are adopting or the technology-based method you are adopting. That is not an important thing in outcome-based education. The outcome-based education, the most important thing is whether the curriculum, the teaching learning process, whichever method you adopt, and also the assessment, all 3 or 4 things, they have to come together. Finally, the most important thing is the outcome. And goals and objectives take a new importance as they are more explicit, defined in terms of actual competencies. Friends, learning is very important, but unlearning is also equally important thing. When we talk about program outcome, it is not just restricted to a particular discipline of knowledge. There are many competencies essential for a graduate. For example, understanding a complex situation and provide solutions for a complex situation in a particular society, effective communication, empathy, many things we talk about, that is also given due importance in the outcome-based education. Next slide, please. For example, education to base a system, defining, deciding, organizing, structuring, focusing, and operating what the system does according to some consistent standard or principle. Friends, it may look very probably abstract. You may even argue with me, sir, this is very abstract. But once if you start implementing, probably you can understand the real purpose of this particular statement. Whatever we talk about, they are probably the documents or the statements made by William Spady. Virtually all components of higher education systems are well defined, structured, and operated with time as the key factor. But outcomes, as I said earlier, takes precedence over time. You can take your own time. And OBE gives priority to ends, the final outcome, the purposes, the purpose of learning, accomplishment, and results. Friends, I used the 2 or 3 components which you and me frequently use, learning and teaching. I will ask you a basic question: what is learning or what is teaching? And when I say when you define the learning here, means permanent change in behavior. It is not restricted to in knowing a particular information and applying that particular information. That is part of learning. But learning in the true sense is permanent change. Permanent change in what? Permanent change in one's behavior. That's very important thing. I can teach about discipline. I cannot give you certain rules related to classroom discipline. The students can memorize. If they don't follow that, then what is the purpose? So learning is permanent change in behavior. You are also exploiting the information you have gained out of that particular process. The second important thing, you have to also define what is teaching. What is teaching? Is it just transacting the textual content inside the classroom? Only one purpose of teaching you define. Teaching is an act of inspiration. There are multiple ways in which you can inspire students. Teach, especially higher education, teaching is an act of inspiration the student, out of that particular inspiration, the students really go for self-learning and lifelong learning. Teaching is a visual treat. Teaching is clarifying values. I can quote many number of probably unusual definitions for you, and probably you can, whichever definition suits you, you can adopt that. It's not simply transacting the textual content. Don't reduce that a mechanical act. You have to really inspire students, especially in higher education institution, should lead to self-learning and lifelong learning. This is also one of the probably inbuilt purpose of the education, higher education. Next slide, please. Some of the teachers, you have raised your hands. I will complete few slides, then I will come back to you. There are again 5 basic fundamentals we call 5 Ds. You define the outcome without any meaning change in a precise manner. There will be only one interpretation for the outcome. You will design based on the outcome, you design curriculum. Then you go for a different kind of instruction methods. You also, after teaching, after allowing the students to learn, you will understand the results out of that particular teaching process. Then you finally determine the advancement the students achieved or attained. Outcomes are not simply values. To become a good student, to be a sincere student, no, that is not an outcome. It is not a belief system. It is not an attitude alone or a psychological mindset. It is more in the context of competence, a graduate competence or a postgraduate competence, of course, in the context of a particular domain of knowledge. Cherished values, of course, when we talk about outcomes, it doesn't mean it is restricted only to a particular set of academic contents. The ideals, the cherished values, ideals, fairness, objectivity, and inclusive, also the purpose of education, higher education in particular. Some of you have raised your questions. If you have any question till what I covered now, am I clear to you, participants? If you have any doubts so far, whatever I have covered, you can raise your doubts in the group, or you can even raise orally, you can raise your doubts with the permission of the organizers. Dr. Barnita, do you have time to take questions now? Hello? Can I?
Sir?
Yeah. Kalavadi,
Yes,
can
sir,
we
this is
accept some
Barnita.
questions
This is
now at this
Barnita,
point
sir.
of time?
Sir, this is Barnita. Yes, sir, we can have questions. If the participants are willing, we can have go with the questions.
Yeah. Sir,
Yes.
do you have questions? Mary Elizabeth, Madam Mary Elizabeth, do you have any question now? Barnita, you have to permit them to use their mic.
Sir, they can unmute themselves, sir.
Yeah. Mary Elizabeth.
Dear participants,
Nandini.
please come forward if you have any queries.
Nandini, Madam Nandini. Dr. R. Chitra, are you there in the group? R. Chitra, Dr. Chitra from Madurai, Majura College, Autonomous. Priyadarshini, time is very important now. I have many more slides. Mallika Ratnavel from the same institution, GVG Visalachi College. R. Mallika. Dr. R. Mallika. Barnita, do you have any question now?
Sir, actually, I have no questions right now, sir. We can continue with the session, sir. I think we might have this in, as the last session, sir.
Okay.
As
Last
the
10
last
minutes
part
we
of
can
the
allot
session.
that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we can have
That's
this.
fine.
Yes, sir.
If the participants are agreeing for that, I have no problem. Friends,
Okay, sir.
again, I repeating, there are 5 fundamentals, 5 Ds we call: define outcomes, design right kind of a curriculum to achieve the outcome, adopt the right kind of instruction method, allowing the students also to participate, to design the curriculum involving every stakeholders in the curriculum design and delivery methods, right kind of an assessment you are adopting, and document the results of every student for the highest achievement. And probably you can determine the advancement, whether you are able to really achieve the desired level of achievement in the academic programs. These are all the 5 Ds. Next slide, please, Barnita. This is again one kind of defining, or probably put it in a diagrammatic manner, what the student should be able to do. The most important thing is the whole outcome-based education is student-centric. It is not, we are not going to discuss the teacher's efforts. The teachers may take any kind of effort, and the whole thing outcome-based education is, it is not, we are not going to discuss the teaching method. We are not going to discuss the quality of a particular teacher. We are discussing the student's output at the end of the program, at the end of the course. Whatever we talk about, it should be student-centric. In order to achieve the student's performance, how to make the students achieve a desired outcome, a specific outcome. Then the other challenge is how you are going to measure the achievement, how to measure what the students have achieved. No, the achievement is already defined before you start the program. This is a one kind of framework, you have to keep it in mind. And in every point, we give importance only to students. In all the, whatever I have written here, where the word student is appeared at every point of time. The next slide, please. The other important thing that I would like to discuss, clarity of focus on outcomes of significance, trends. And when William Spady wrote a book, again later, he defined almost like more than 25 pages about the concept outcomes of significance. It is not restricted to a particular discipline or a sub-discipline. Making sure that you continuously align your instruction and assessment with what your desired end state. And I will also try to give you some examples later. This more of principles. Just listen to me, then subsequently I will give you an example. This one important purpose, outcomes of significance. The second one is designing down. Yes, we know what is outcome, then how to achieve, how to design. Designing down from your ultimate outcomes. Work your way back from the desired end state, establishing the resources, mobilize resources and skills needed to achieve that particular end state by all students. High expectations for high level of success. Achieving greater level of success. We don't make compromise on the poor achievement, very high achievement, mid-range achievement. We demand highest achievement by all students in a particular program or in a particular course. So achieving greater level of success for every student to ensure that all the students will achieve a higher level of success, and eliminating the idea of select students are unable to achieve their success. He is expanding the particular principle. Expanded opportunities and support. Time is the most crucial aspect of this idea. It is considered a resource that enables students to achieve their goals, learning goals, as opposed to a limiting constraint in the education process. Time is not an important factor in the outcome-based education. Time is flexible. If a teacher says instead of 90 days, I want 100 days in a semester or in a particular course, if only 60 hours are allotted for face-to-face teaching, if the teacher says I want 70 hours, the system should permit. Unfortunately, our present system, there is no scope for that. So We are adopting only truncated OBE system in real life, in our day-to-day context. Next slide, please. You have to keep this in mind about the limitations. So, as I said earlier, the course outcome and program outcome are a very, very important thing. The program outcome is based on the vision and mission statement. UGC has given a list of program outcome. You can adopt those things. One or two you can modify to suit the conditions of your education institution. For example, expected learning outcome is a formal statement. What the students, we are not using even one particular place about teachers. We are always using students as the primary focus. A formal statement of what students are expected to learn in a particular course, say inorganic chemistry paper 1, course 1. What the faculty members want students to know at the end of the course. What faculty members want students to be able to do at the end of the course. There are three major components. One is the learning outcomes. There is specifically an action verb by the students. There will be an action, demonstrable action. It can be very well understood by the teachers by any parameter. Learners, that is keenly observable. You can observe that. There is specific an action by the students that is measurable. It is possible. They specify an action that is done by the students, learners, rather than the faculty members. Whatever we talk about outcome, it should be demonstrated by the students and it can be easily observable and that can be easily measurable. I already repeated measurable, tangible, achievable, perceivable, and that can, based on certain national and international criteria, you can talk about outcome-based education. Next slide, please. I will give you some examples also for that. When we talk about outcomes, especially course outcome, you have to use certain words, certain verbs. And many of you are aware of that. Unfortunately, I looked at the documents of at least 50, 60 colleges, wherever I have gone there as a peer team member for NAAC assessment, including arts and science, engineering, commerce, and some of them are deemed universities, regular universities across the India. There are many, many words. For example, they always use the common term, understand. Understand is a cognitive process related to mind. You may not know what is happening inside the brain of a particular learner. When we talk about action word, you have to, out of that understanding, what is that student are expected to demonstrate. After understanding, the student should explain or probably recall the same statement or give examples for that particular understanding or write down his understanding. So understanding is a cognitive or mental process. That is, well, don't use the term understand to be aware of, appreciate, learn, comprehend, become familiar with. These are all the very notorious words. It's very, very difficult. These words are very vague, have multiple meanings, multiple interpretations. It is very simply difficult to observe or measure. So then what is the kind of word you can use when we design course outcome? Compile. It means if there are a lot of words or a lot of activities, you have to compile based on a particular arrangement or understanding or a principle. Identify. I can say identify elements or identify certain components of invertebrate flower. You can talk about all those things and create and plan, revise, analyze, design, select, utilize. By reading all those words, you can easily observe whether that boy or girl is compiling, whether that boy or girl is able to identify the various components of a particular flower or a machine, or whether he is able to create a design or create a device to solve a particular problem. And he can analyze and give his opinion is possible. Design, he can draw a design, he can compute mathematically or any other means. He can discuss the merits and demerits. He can explain in his own language. He can predict what will happen in future. He can assess the merits and demerits. He can compare with another closely related object. All those things he can critique, giving his own observation as critic or his own understanding. Outline, define a particular component or evaluate which is good or bad. So please understand, the first set of words you can easily identify whether the students are completing that particular task. It can be easily demonstratable, measurable, verifiable. But if you adopt words like know, be aware of, appreciate, learn, understand, comprehend. Comprehend is again a cognitive process related to mind. That comprehension should end with, should come out, should be openly come out with certain activity like comparison, certain activity like critique. So please understand, hereafter avoid certain vague words when you design verbs, especially for course outcome and program outcome. This is an important point, you have to keep it in mind. Go back to your place and look at your own course outcome and program outcome. Next slide. I will try to give you some examples for that. For example, limit the course level outcome, learning outcome. Very complex subjects, you can, complex programs, you can have even 10, but ideal is I5. The students for the entire course, more detailed outcomes can be developed for individual units, assignments, and chapters. Unfortunately, we have only course outcome. When you have the course outcome or learning outcome, whichever way you want, we always, for the entire paper, for entire course we are designing, but you can have even a detailed outcome for a particular unit, particular assignment, particular chapters of learning. I had an opportunity to look at the learning outcome process of some of the UK universities very recently, last about 2 months ago. I could really see the difference. They have a common course outcome. They also have an outcome for every exercise, the assignment they are giving, and also the units. For every unit also they design outcome in most of the UK-based universities, traditional universities. Focus on overarching or general knowledge and or skills rather than smaller or trivial details. It's also a very important thing. Its outcome is primarily based on the competence. Focus on knowledge and skills that are central to the course topic and or discipline or sub-discipline. Create statements is very important thing. For example, let me start with the example. Upon completion of this particular course, a course in the undergraduate program or a course in the high school level, students should be able to list the names of 50 states in US. In USA, you can have 50 states. That is reflected in the national flag. Versus one objective of this course is to teach the names of 50 states. The second one is related to the teacher's activity. That is not outcome. The teacher's activity is inbuilt, that cannot be expressed overtly. Only the achievement of students should be expressed overtly. That should be recorded here. Upon completion of this course, students should be able to list down alphabetically the names of the 50 states of USA, United States of America. You have to really understand, this is the way you have to create course outcome, program outcome. Focus on the learning that results from course rather than describing activities or lessons of the course. Most of the time we do this mistake. Incorporate or reflect upon the institutional and departmental missions in the outcomes, which is also very important thing. I have given you some examples, probably some insights and general guidelines. After learning this, internalize all those things and go back to your campus and go back to your college and look at your own outcomes, your own course outcome, program outcome mapping. Then probably you will appreciate my argument only slightly later. Next slide, please. So let me give you one example. So, I'm really impressed. That is why I have used this, drawn from a university outside the country. At the end of the course, this is a basic course. At the end of the course for undergraduate students should be able to look at the first word in each outcome, identify, then explain, then define in detail, and compare and contrast, evaluate, finally summarize. Identify and describe the current domestic and international business trends. This is a general common business management course for undergraduate student. Identify and describe current domestic and international business trends. Explain how proper business management benefits consumers and employees. Define the basic rules related to human resources management. Compare and contrast the different types of business ownership. After that, the more complex, evaluate and classify various marketing strategies. Finally, summarize how technology can help your business management, is minor correction, business management information, MIS, management information system. So identify, then explain, then define in detail. Comparison context is slightly complex before defining. Then finally, what is right or what is effective? Judging. Judging is called evaluate, which is right, which is effective. Judging and classifying is a more complex outcome. Finally, summarizing. After learning many things, you can summarize by using your own language, by your own understanding that comes. This is organized in a very systematic fashion, systematic manner. And the complexities also are in such a fashion so that the basics are given in the first and the more complex outcome comes later. Next slide, please. Friends, in some of the colleges I have personally visited outside Tamil Nadu, look at the very generic course outcome. That too, it's a French language. You very well know the French language is offered even for students who have not studied French in schools. It's open to anyone. And they are all very generic, basic subject knowledge, basic language, French language knowledge. To enable the learners to acquire communicative skills of languages. Please understand, there is only one language, French, is taught. Why the author has used languages, communicative skills of languages, I don't know. To enrich their vocabulary in French. Enrich vocabulary in what? In the scientific communication and day-to-day functions or in a professional meeting. It is not defined in a clear terms. To build confidence in French language. How do you measure this particular outcome, CO3? Build confidence in French language, even after study of French language for 10 years. Do you think that by studying a particular language in a semester, you can build confidence? To develop the translation and letter writing skills, is it possible initially with a very basic knowledge in French? Probably CO4 to some extent is possible if a student undergoes the training for maybe 2-3 semesters. To know the rich values of our life and culture. This is again very vague. To know that you are teaching French, but you are talking about generic life. How? In what way you will measure to know? This is also a difficult, action, you can say verb. How do you know that you know the particular concept? Unless you can say to explain the values of our life and culture is possible, but with 2 semesters or 4 semesters of French language, that too at the elementary and intermediate level, do you think that all these course outcomes can be achieved? You have to revisit the course outcomes. Languages, confidence, rich values of our life, they are all very, very ideals. Here, instead of saying this, instead of recording this, you can say teaching the writing skill, teaching the learning skills, and teaching complex, understanding the multiple meanings of a particular text or a scientific test. If you If you adopt those kind of positions, if you redraw the course outcomes to some extent, it will be relevant. I am giving you an example which I got elsewhere outside Tamil Nadu. Next slide, please. This is again the most important thing. Here, why I have used this particular slide is MS Word and MS Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft. They are all commercial terms, proprietary items. You are not expected to use MS Word, are you an agent for this company? That too in a public university or a college, you are not expected to use a commercial term. You can simply use Word, you can use Office Suite, spreadsheet, or you can use any other common term. You cannot use MS Word, MS Excel, MS PowerPoint unless you seek the permission from the company directly. You cannot use this. Of course, the course outcome, business economics, they have written very well. Describe the concept of business economics theory and principles. Again, I will request them to redefine business economics theory, mention one particular name of the theory. Explain the scope of business economics in the modern day business. You can try to give as restricted as possible so that we may be able to see whether that particular course outcome is achieved, and correlate the economic concept and applications of economic concepts in business decisions. All those things relatively better when compared to the previous two course outcomes. Next slide, please. Don't use the business outcome. There's one model I thought I can discuss with you. Institution's vision and mission goals, the outcome, expected outcome, the program outcomes, curriculum map, you will go for that. And the second one is the competence of ideal graduate. As I said earlier, institutional outcomes, for example, GVG Visalarchi College for women. If they give more importance for women's empowerment, naturally, that will be the ideal graduates who come out of that particular institution from Udmalpet. Everyone, whether they are from zoology or botany, everyone should have one common competence from that particular problem, from a Gandhian institution or a research institution. The course outcomes is a very, very important thing. The teaching learning process, learning environment, content and methodologies, assessment, evaluation, standards and demands. This is a simple model I thought I can draw and show to you. You can similarly draw your own outcome-based education model for your campus, and you can paste it in your students. Please understand, hereafter, whatever you do in the name of outcome-based education, it should be known to all the stakeholders, your students, your parents, your alumni. Everyone should know this. Next slide, please. As I had said earlier, the key components, mission of the college, university, of the department, program, educational objectives, PEOs, graduate attributes is very, very important thing. Graduate attributes also for engineering, AICTC has given, for arts and science, our UGC has given that. You can add something and you can delete something from that. Program outcomes and course outcomes. Next slide, please. For example, there are certain ideal things which I am impressed, I would like to share with you. Edinburgh in UK, very precise. Curiosity for learning that makes a positive difference. Courage to expand and fulfill their potential passion to engage locally and globally. The graduate attributes, the 4 are graduate attributes. The last 4. University of Edinburgh graduates are creative problem solvers and researchers, critical and reflective thinkers. Adult learning is learning by reflection. Based on your experience, you reflect and take the right kind of a position, right kind of a value. Effective and influential contributors for the development of society, skilled communicators. You have to be a person, try to influence others and promote a particular ideal value, skilled communicators. This is a very, very effective, precise, simple graduate attributes of a leading university in UK. Similarly, you can also draw your graduate attributes. Sometimes more than this is also possible. Next slide, please. We always have one difficulty about mapping of POs and COs. Many occasions, whenever we conduct this program, teachers used to ask this question. Many of them are within the system. Only one is outside the system. That is called graduate attributes. Graduate attributes you draw from the society. All others are within your campus, within your college. Your vision statement, your mission statement, your PEOs and POs and course outcomes. And the most important thing you know that the PEOs are relatively less in number, POs are slightly more, and course outcome because in a particular 3-year program you have more than 15, sometimes 20 papers. There are a lot of course outcomes available. The number is more. The course outcome truly reflects the students' abilities, competencies. Look at this, and only one component of the system comes out of the society, that is called graduate attributes. Next slide, please. It is removed. The advantages outcome-based education removed comparative competitive approach. Avoid selecting what is good student, bad student, sorting out under various categories avoided. Standards and measurements are clearly defined. Criterion based for all students for effective achievement. It is broad performance capabilities rather than specific curriculum skills, outcomes or actions, competencies in using information, ideals and tools successfully. Multiple ways you have to understand the outcome. Exit outcome, we talk about exit outcome. It's very, very important. You have to keep it in mind. And Bharmita, can I take another 5 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next slide, please. I have discussed some of them earlier also. Next slide, please. Friends, I think I am expected to close by 4:30. Now it's almost 4:26. Probably I can skip this slide. Can you go to next slide, please? Next slide. Yeah, this is one thing I really wanted to discuss. Most of the occasions we have to follow Benjamin Bloom's action verbs, Bloom taxonomy. Start from the bottom, remembering the basic principles, regulations, laws, arithmetic principle, for example. Recognizing, recalling, describing, listing, and probably you can carry out the most fundamental course outcome. Then understanding the principles and write it in your own language by giving suitable examples. Then applying in the context of the application tools. And probably the fourth level is analyzing the merits, differentiating from the closely related principle. And the fifth one is evaluating what is good, whether it is energy saving device, or you can apply your own judgment, finally create your own device or creating your own understanding about a particular prose or a poetry, or it can be scientific device, or you can try to solve the societal problems. The highest level is creating. But at the undergraduate level, we restrict ourselves only up to the level of 4, sometimes 5 also, 1 or 2 occasions the 3rd year. But unfortunately, they are not systematically followed when you design the course outcome. That's very, very important thing that I am emphasizing here. Next slide, please. Because of lack of time, I am skipping some slides. And the most important thing you have to understand is that the different methodology you adopt, the different teaching learning method you adopt, there is no restriction for the outcome-based education. You can adopt whatever method you want. please understand, self-learning is also a one method the OBE is encouraging. Group learning is also permitted. Learning through games and multiple means of participatory method are also adopted. Project-based learning is also adopted. OBE is not restricting one particular method. It is not restricting one type of assessment. Assessment sometimes orally also accepted or by written answers also accepted. I think I can stop here now and I can take few questions till my term permits, till the organizers permit. And please share your question. Jayalakshmi, Jayalakshmi, yes? Would you like to share any feedback or your doubts? Babu, Dr. Babu, Sharnath Babu, hey, raise your hand. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Course objectives and course outcomes are same, sir, or that depends upon the length of the syllabus?
Yeah, can you repeat your question one more time?
Course objectives and
Course outcome.
Yeah. Course outcomes depends upon objectives only, or depends upon the length of the syllabus?
No, please understand, the number of course outcomes you talk about, Sarnath Babu. The course outcome, please understand, the course outcome normally for the purpose of convenience, you can have course outcome 5 to 6 for each program. Initially, the first year you can have slightly less number, and in the later year you can increase. There is no hard and fast rule. You can even have 6 or 7 course outcome. And teaching method, any teaching method you can adopt. And the unit, the academic content, the quantum of syllabus you are covering, that also decides the number of course outcomes. You can have even 7 or you can have 5 also. Quantum of learning, the desired learning, quantum of syllabus also decides the number of course outcome. Am I clear to you? I am not able to hear you, Sarnath.
Saying.
Oh, okay. And Bhuvaneshwari, Bhuvaneshwari madam, do you have any
sir,
question?
Understood, sir.
Thank you. Bhuvaneshwari.
Yeah.
Dr. Raja. I think many of you either you left the session or probably you are not able to interact with me. Jayalakshmi, yes. Mary Elizabeth. Madam Mary Elizabeth. Yeah. Kalavadi, you wanted to say something? Dr. Kalavadi. Nandini Mariappan. I think in the system we have our own difficulty. Normally I take at least 6 or 7 questions. I stop here. I sincerely thank the organizers for having given me the opportunity. I have not done justice. Probably go back to your campus and look at your own curriculum, look at your own course outcome, program outcome. If you have any doubts, you can raise your doubts. I have given my email ID also. Probably I can try to take some of your questions and connect you through online. Thank you. And organizers,
Sir,
would you
sir,
like
we are
to say
here, sir.
anything now?
Dear professors, if you have any questions, please come forward.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dear professors, hope some more than 80 participants are here. So please come forward with your questions. Yeah.
Parmita probably will close now. Any comments or any observations you like to offer for the tomorrow's meeting and for today's event?
Yes, sir. I will forward it to you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Sir, just we will be having a formal vote of thanks, sir.
Okay. I'll wait for that.
Yes. So I now invite Dr. Parveen Banu, Assistant Professor of Mathematics, to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening to all. On behalf of everyone, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished resource person, Professor Dr. M. Jayakumar, for delivering such an enlightening session on elevating education through faculty development. Your deep insights into various aspects of education, from national planning to the uniqueness of higher, also grateful and strategic direction, have made this program possible. Our heartfelt appreciation goes to the principal, Dr. Karpagavalli, for their continuous encouragement, and a big thank to the head of the department, Dr. R. Angel Joy, for your meticulous planning and coordination. Finally, I would like to thank our controller of examination, Dr. P. Padmavati, for their constant support. So, last but not least, I would like to thank all the participants for their active participation. Once again, thank you to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Barnita and the team.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful session, sir. Really, I was very much grateful to you for sharing your very valuable time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And dear participants, please fill the feedback form which is shared. Sir, thank you so much for giving us a wonderful session, this schedule. Thank you so much, sir. And I will forward if we receive any queries related to these sessions. Dear participants, we can leave the call now, meeting now. So please fill the feedback form without fail.
Tomorrow
Thank you
again,
all.
same time, madam.
Tomorrow program will start by 3 o'clock, 3 p.m.
For the information.
So please join on time. Okay, let me wait for 5 more minutes so that you all can fill the feedback form.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you all.